Hello and welcome back to the 48th episode of my still unnamed survival series. Today we are going to be working on our mega base. I have a lot of plans for this area and I think today's the day to finally start on all of them. We're going to be collecting a lot of blocks, placing a lot of blocks, and trying to have a good time while doing it. So to start this supersized project, we're going to hop down into our mega base and start a time lapse. We've got some buttresses to build. Okay, so I'm trying to build this buttress, and the math just isn't working out. No matter what I do, I keep having a 2-block gap right here or down over here. Doesn't matter what direction I build it from, how many times I build it, there's still a 2-block gap and I have no idea what is happening. Everything has been built to spec and built exactly the way I designed it, so I don't know what's going on here. There's gotta be a reason though. Alright, so I think I just figured it out. This over here, this little tower, is not exactly what I built in my creative testing world. The first time we built this and we started over on this side was perfectly correct. Now this entire section is wrong. The whole reason why I thought this was wrong the first time is because I forgot to build another little secondary accent on this domed roof. Oh my gosh, that was a pain. That took way too long, and I only got one done. So that's unfortunate, but as it turns out, this dome wasn't the only thing that was wrong. I also had an added part over by the bone block. I forgot another little accent that I had to add right about here. So I had to tear down what I built for a 5th time and build this. But after all the pain, heartache, and pain, I think it turned out pretty good. There's still some cleanup that I would like to do around the actual body of the base and by this dome. Eventually, we're also going to add some stuff on the top, and there's going to be a lot of decorative bits going on over on this side of the base. But for now, I'm going to build the rest of the buttresses. And now our base is definitely looking good. We're almost done with this. But unfortunately, I haven't designed the underside of these arches at all yet. They've just kind of been a blank slate on this since the beginning. I was hoping inspiration would come to me when I built them, but it didn't. So for now, we're just gonna leave them completely empty. And now that we have our buttresses built, I think it's time that we start on the next project for the day, which is gonna be somewhere in this general area. Anywhere that there's water over here, I don't think that I want it to be there. I want to dry up this swamp and I want to build some more land. But I'm not sure how far we're gonna get in that. This is a very large project and we're probably gonna have to chop it up while we're doing some other stuff. I'm thinking the first thing we do is try and gather up some more dirt. And I think we're gonna kill 2 birds with 1 stone here, because in this general area, I would like there to be a huge hole. This is where we're gonna keep all of our large farms, and I'd like to keep them underground. So I think we're gonna start on that, lane that out, and then start digging out the top. I seem to have misplaced the beacon that I used over at the raid farm, so we're just gonna steal the one that I used to harvest all the warped fungus and move this over to the area we're demolishing. Just like the hole we built in the nether, we're gonna be using the beacon haste effect to mark out the area that we are removing. The range of a full beacon's effect is 50 blocks in every direction, so with a little bit of effort, we can math out exactly where our haste line is gonna end. Unfortunately, I don't really feel like putting any effort into figuring out where this colossal hole is gonna be, so I'm just gonna put it somewhere in the center and hope I like where the hole ends up. I'm thinking I want the line to be somewhere about here. which will make this spot, give or take, the location we need to build our beacon. So I'm gonna place a couple blocks, block off the water, dig out a spot for our beacon, and now that we've got our beacon effect up, we're just gonna walk slowly towards it until we get the haste to effect. This is gonna give us the exact border in which the haste effect no longer applies. We're gonna do that on all 4 sides and then create a border just on the outside of our haste effect. This is gonna give us a visual on where exactly the haste effect ends, and this is the line that we're gonna be digging to. And this is the area we are gonna be starting off with. I think the hole in general needs to be bigger. I think we might go a little bit more on this side. I'm not entirely sure yet, but I know definitely this is not gonna fit the farms I have planned, so we are gonna have to demolish way more than that. Now that I have this area marked out, we have a lot of water to remove before we can actually start mining this section. So I'm gonna block off everywhere that it meets up with the ocean or a river, just so we don't have any water flowing back into the hole. So we're gonna grab some sponges and start draining out the entire area. There's a lot of water here, so we're probably gonna have to do this in sections. Most of this is oddly shaped, so if I empty out one section, it's pretty much gonna automatically refill. And that is quite literally not at all what I want. So I'm gonna grab some leaves and use these as kind of like a border, blocking off the water from flowing into the section I just drained. Leaves might seem like kind of an odd choice to build walls in water, but I promise you, there's some logic there. The tool of choice for sponges and leaves is the hoe, so I don't have to switch between 2 tools to get the speediest thing for breaking down my walls and tearing apart the sponges. Leaves also break instantly when you have a hoe with efficiency 5. One downside though is they do get waterlogged, so I have to drain the leaves too. Eventually, I think I'm gonna have to find more sponges. 30 sponges is not enough to do what I'm planning, especially draining that swamp. That's just gonna be a lot. Most of the water is gone. We only have this little bit left where it connects with the ocean and it gets quite a bit deeper. I think I'm gonna have to block this off a little bit differently than I did with the rest of this. Something a little bit more straight down so I can get more sponges in the area. I'm gonna do something like this instead of what we were doing. I'm basically gonna take the long strips that we had and then separate those into smaller squares. This is gonna decrease the volume of water, so when we use a sponge, it won't come crashing back down together and fill all the way back up. I'm pretty sure this is it. I've pulled all the water from this colossal square, and I think it's time that we start harvesting the dirt. Now that I've removed all of the water, I'm gonna start flattening this out. I think it'll be much easier to remove and harvest all of the dirt if this starts off in a flat plane. Minecraft is a lot like onions. It has layers. So we're just gonna try and peel back one layer at a time until we collect everything that we want to. Everything we want being every block we mine. I've gotten this all flattened out, and I don't think I'm gonna dig into the stone. I would really just like to harvest all the dirt, sand, and gravel right now. I don't really have a need for the stone, and I really just kind of want to get a move on with building the land. We can really dig this anytime, so I think for now I'm just gonna dig out all the dirt, put it all into shulker boxes, and then repeat the process until this is completely empty. We're about halfway done with harvesting all the dirt from this little section, and we've gotten about 10 shulker boxes of dirt already. That's quite a bit of dirt, but I don't think it's gonna be near enough for what I have planned. So I'm gonna keep on digging this out, making some more progress, and trying to remove every little bit. Look at this though, this is something pretty cool I found. I was digging out all the dirt, and I found this spider spawner. This has literally no use to me anymore. More of an annoyance. There's exactly 0 dirt left in this hole. I've put it all in these shulker boxes. Well, quite a bit more shulker boxes. But I'm gonna put the last of our dirt back in these shulker boxes, then mine them all up, and then place them all in our shulker box unloading system. This has dirt and grass blocks all mixed together, along with some gravel, clay, and whatnot. And I just want to get all of that out of here. So while all of my shulker boxes are unloading, I'm gonna go stand at the very end of my line, just so I can make sure to collect all the blocks that don't really have a home yet. This little system is definitely one of the coolest things I've ever built out of redstone. I'm so happy this turned out as well as it did. All of that dirt and all of those grass blocks have now been stored in their own independent shulker boxes. So let's put it to good use and start terraforming this. We're gonna add a whole bunch of land over in this direction, and I would like it to mirror the landscape pretty well. I also think I want to go down into the water and out and around this direction. And I think I'm gonna try and mirror what we did in the village with the cliff faces underneath the windmill and the cliff faces over by our dock. But for now, I think I'm gonna put all the shulker boxes up and store them on our mega base, just so I know where they're at. We've got a pretty hefty amount of dirt blocks and a pretty hefty amount of grass blocks, but unfortunately I still don't think this is enough to completely terraform this area. We're essentially doubling the amount of land that we have, and that's a pretty lofty goal considering we have to mine all the dirt and then place all the dirt. It's gonna take a lot of time. Now that all of the dirt from this hole has been moved to our mega base in the form of shulker boxes, I think it's time to start mapping that area. We have some 1-level maps, but those show a little bit too much detail, and I can't carry those all in one hand. So I'm gonna map this area again, making some slightly larger maps, and then we're gonna try and figure out where I want the new cliff face for our new area. And then we're gonna build it. I'm gonna go ahead and map this area, and then we're gonna put the maps together and see if we can figure out a line to establish for our new cliff. Alrighty, I've gotten all of our maps filled out and made, and I'm thinking we're gonna build some cliff line right along this right here, maybe connecting up with the edge of that river. I'd kind of like to keep that and put some more rivers inside the land we terraform. I think that'd be kind of cool. But a line right here is gonna be something that I want. I also might remove this village entirely and make that opening a little bit bigger. I'm not entirely sure yet. I'm also gonna be doing a lot over on the left side of the castle. Maybe not this episode, but eventually. I want to drain the swamp and put a mountain range somewhere in this area. But for now, my main goal is turning this vast ocean into land. But now I'm gonna go ahead and start work on the line on the right. We're gonna make this side right here the cliff face in kind of a jaggedy formation, trying to match the natural formations of Minecraft. Alrighty ho, let's get to building this cliff face. We're just gonna be building this right around and above the water. I'm building this based off a little guide that I made in the sketchbook app, and this is what I'm basing my cliff face off of. This is the profile that I think would look the best in this area, and this is what I'm gonna try and create. We've made quite a bit of progress with this line, but unfortunately it's bad progress. We gotta tear apart a good 30 blocks back into this line. I kind of built it at a bad angle that I didn't really like, so I'm just gonna demolish it and try again. I kind of like where we're going with this. This looks pretty good. And we finally made it onto the second map. But this is where things kind of get a little tricky. We have a lot of curves and a lot of radiuses to kind of blend into the natural terrain generation. I would like to blend our new cliff in with the river and try and keep everything looking as natural as possible. The radius is looking pretty good. It's a little steep here, I think, so I'm gonna go ahead and shallow this out. Make this not quite as aggressive looking. But other than that, this is going tremendously well. This is the shape and profile I came up with. This is the new coastline and the new cliff edge that we will be building off of. It's not perfect. There's a little bit of work that I could do to it, especially over here, but I think I'm gonna hold off on this side and hold off on any changing of it until I get all of this filled in with dirt and all of the landscape made. That way I can base the cliff edge off of the already created terrain structures. I've gone ahead and thickened up this dirt line, that way I can see it on the map. I want to get a side-by-side comparison of the one I drew in Sketchbook versus what we actually have. I'm just a little curious to see how well I could build it from that reference. I've updated the maps and this is our line. Just from looking at that, I feel like I did a pretty good job. Well, let's double check and pop up that guide. That's not bad. It's a little weird at the top, but that's comparable. That's pretty good. I'll take that. Now that we have our cliff face all made and thickened up and looking all juicy, I think it's time that we start on some more terraforming. This time a little bit more in depth and a little bit more finished than just a couple lines. Hopefully by the end of this we'll have either a new island or a new connection to the mainland. This as a whole is quite the ambitious project by adding a whole new section to our nation. I'm thinking that we're gonna build a colossal crater right in the middle of this ocean right here. I'm gonna try and match the terrain as best as I can, but we're just gonna plunge down into the water and start building. I'm thinking we're gonna start this about 6 to 8 blocks underneath the water, just so it can be pretty depthy, a pretty large crater, I'm thinking. I'm gonna start this off by making a little formation that I see underneath the water. That way it mirrors the natural generation of Minecraft as closely as it can. When I do terraforming, I try and make it look as natural as possible. That means no geometric shapes and all squiggles and uneven. I think that always looks the best, but now that I have this base shape, I'm gonna build up and out in layers, and it'll look something like this. Whenever I do terraforming like this, I always try and build up and out, matching the base shape as perfectly as I can, making small deviations here and there and trying to copy those up layer by layer, almost like the ground is moving and changing with each layer it forms. I'm also trying to make it shallow out as it goes up, so every time I go up, I make the layer itself a little bit longer. Now that I got this general shape and profile, I think I'm going to connect the larger 2 land masses into one land mass and create another line going from this side all the way over to the left. Eventually this is going to have to connect to this landmass, and I'm going to do that by trying to make a mesa type structure like it was built on top of a hill. I think that'd be a pretty cool effect, and that's what I'm going to go for with this area. But for now, we're just going to connect up the land masses. I've started building this, and I've got to keep a few things in mind while I'm making this profile. I've got to find out where my base is going to be, how well I want to match the original circles in the center, and I need to be able to blend it in with the existing land masses. That's what I try and keep in my head whenever I'm establishing a new line for a new area of terraforming. Where my base is, where the land is, and how I'm going to create the interaction between them. Not every block matters, but every shape does. And this is the line that I came up with. I'm actually pretty happy with this. We are gonna get a mound and a little wraparound leading to a mesa, and it connects pretty well with this island. But I'm sure by the time all of this terraforming is all said and done, this is gonna look dramatically different. The land itself and the way that I have it laid out now. Once we get closer and closer to the final product, I'll start tweaking things, changing things, rearranging the land, and possibly even re-terraforming sections. Now that we have our levels laid out, it's time to drown ourselves for hours underwater trying to fill out our new island. After we finish up this currently Atlantis-like location, this will be the new home of a lot of building projects. But unlike our saltwater-soaked analogy, this city will be completely dry. This is taking way more dirt than I thought it would. I already knew that it was gonna take a lot of dirt, but definitely not this much. And we have way more to build and way more to fill in. I'm on the outside ring, and I probably have 2, maybe 3 more shulker boxes full of dirt. I don't think that's gonna be enough. It's definitely not enough to connect the 2 large land masses. I've managed to fill every single ring in this little crater. So now it's filled with water, and we need to remove that. So I'm gonna go ahead and grab some sponges and remove all the water from this colossal crater. I really liked the way the leaves worked the first time when we drained out the colossal dirt mine. So I'm gonna use them again, and an added bonus is the hoe won't be able to break the dirt we just placed. The deeper sections of this crater might get a little tricky, so we might have to just do something a little funky with that. Honestly, using leaves is definitely the way to go when doing something like this. If I were to drain out an ocean or maybe even the swamp, I'll probably use sand just so I can build a line, place it once, it falls all the way down to the bottom without having to go under the water. But honestly, the leaves are working really well. I'm just about done emptying out all the water from our island. We've only got a couple more layers to go. I'm getting really excited to see how this turns out. I'm hoping it looks really good once the water is removed, but I guess we'll find out. All the water is gone, and it's looking really good. We're just about out of dirt though, and just about out of grass blocks as well. But let's get a good view at how this looks. Phenomenal. That is, oh my gosh, that's so good. We're probably gonna add a little bit more bumps and squiggles. If you look at the naturally spawning terrain, it's not quite as flat, not quite as rigid. So I'll probably end up adding some more stuff like this to our island once I get it all layered and flat. But this whole island is about the size of the hole we dug out. So this is pretty big. But now I'm gonna go ahead and let the grass grow and maybe add a few lines either in the swamp or in the water over here. While I was waiting for that grass to grow, I decided that I would try and fill in our last outline. And fill it in I did. I made all of these lines to try and be as efficient as possible when placing the dirt. And I ended up placing all of my dirt. We are completely out of dirt. We're probably gonna have to dig out some more dirt somewhere else. Probably right on the outside of that hole. But I still don't think it's gonna be enough to fill all of this in. With the addition of our brand new island and our new horizon, and the subtraction of literally all of our dirt, I think we're gonna call it an episode right here. I had a lot of fun making this episode, and I hope you had a lot of fun watching. If you did, feel free to like, share, and subscribe. A lot of people who watch this channel aren't actually subscribed, and I would like to change that. But as always, my name is Red Skies, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye. If you made it this far in the video, thank you. I really appreciate it. And if you like what you saw, feel free to check out some of my other socials. They're being held on the scroll by my cats. It's the social scroll. Feel free to, go to one of those pages. That'd be pretty cool. I know I'd appreciate it. But as always, if you have any tips or tricks for using DaVinci Resolve or video editing in general, please leave a comment down below. I would love to hear your opinion.